Phoenix, Arizona, July. Behind a stucco ranch house, the condenser screams in 112 degrees Fahrenheit heat. Brass nozzles spray fine mist. 90 seconds later, the compressor draws 800 fewer watts. That fix cost $40. You paid $800 last summer just to stay cool. By the end of this video, you will learn the one number that makes a garden hose rival a geothermal system, and why the cooling industry buried it. I drove out to see this for myself. Outside Tucson, Arizona, I found a retired HVAC contractor who has been running a homemade condenser misting system on his home for 7 consecutive summers. No manufacturer installed it. No technician signed off on it. He built it himself from brass misting nozzles, a 24-volt sprinkler solenoid valve, and a garden hose he already owned. I stood next to his condenser unit on a day when the ambient temperature hit 109 degrees. He flipped on the mist. Within 2 minutes, the discharge air blowing off the top of the unit dropped noticeably. I clamped an amp meter onto the compressor line and watched the current draw fall by almost 20% right in front of me. That is not a theory. That is a number on a meter I held in my own hand. Then he showed me the coils. This is where it gets risky. 7 years of daily misting and the aluminum fins showed no mineral scaling. He routes his misting supply through the house water softener before it ever reaches a nozzle. But here is the catch. Water softeners swap calcium for sodium. While you won't get white calcium scale, sodium is highly corrosive to aluminum and copper. Over time, spraying softened water can cause severe galvanic corrosion, eating away your condenser coils from the outside in. He walked back inside and pulled a binder from a kitchen drawer. Monthly electric bills going all the way back to 2019. His July statements run consistently between 20 and 25% lower than his neighbors in the same subdivision. Same builder, same square footage, same 14 SEER units off the factory line. The only difference between his house and theirs is a $40 misting ring and the knowledge to install it. I asked him where he first learned this. He told me it was not from the internet. In 1994, he ran a commercial refrigeration job at a grocery store in Mesa, Arizona. The chief engineer on that project misted the rooftop condensing units every summer using a system plumbed directly into the building water supply. Nobody called it an innovation. Nobody filed a patent. It was standard practice across commercial refrigeration in the Sun Belt and had been for years. Everyone in the trade knew. Nobody ever told a homeowner. That question stayed with me the entire drive back. If commercial refrigeration engineers have been misting condenser coils for decades, and the physics behind it sits in every thermodynamics textbook ever printed, why has no major HVAC manufacturer ever offered a factory misting option on a residential unit? The answer starts with a founding father, a chemistry professor, and a mercury thermometer at Cambridge University in 1758. In 1758, Benjamin Franklin and John Hadley, a chemistry professor at Cambridge University in England, ran the first documented experiment on evaporative cooling. They applied volatile liquids to the bulb end of a mercury thermometer and watched the reading fall as the liquid evaporated. They drove the bulb temperature all the way down to 7 degrees Fahrenheit, while the room sat at 65 degrees Fahrenheit. One experiment proved the fundamental law. Evaporating liquid absorbs heat from whatever it touches. That single principle is the foundation of every condenser misting system ever built. It was demonstrated before the American Revolution ended. But the physics is far older than Franklin. Thousands of years before anyone assembled a compressor, Persian engineers cooled entire desert cities using wind towers and underground water channels called qanats. The towers caught the breeze and forced it underground across flowing water. As the air moved over the surface, it absorbed moisture and dropped in temperature. Cool air rose through shafts into the buildings above. Egyptian frescoes from roughly 2,500 years before the Common Era show servants fanning jars of water to cool palace rooms. Evaporating water was the first air conditioning system humans ever designed. It worked 4,000 years ago. It works this afternoon. The jump to mechanical cooling came in 1851 when a Florida physician named John Gorey received the first American patent for a refrigeration machine. Gorey built his device in Apalachicola, Florida, to cool the rooms of malaria patients. He compressed air and water to create ice, then blew room air across it to drop the temperature. He died in 1855 without the funding to bring his invention to market. Common air conditioning died with him for half a century. Then, on July 17, 1902, a young engineer named Willis Carrier changed everything. Working at the Sackett-Wilhelms lithographing plant in Brooklyn, New York, Carrier submitted the drawings for what became the first modern air conditioning system. His invention used the vapor compression refrigeration cycle to control temperature and humidity simultaneously. But every system Carrier designed carried the same bottleneck: the condenser, the outdoor coil that rejects heat into surrounding air. The hotter that air gets, the harder the compressor pushes. The harder it pushes, the more electricity it eats. The more it eats, the higher your bill climbs every July. What Franklin proved in 1758 is the direct fix for Carrier's bottleneck. Mist the air before it enters the condenser coil. The water evaporates and absorbs heat. Incoming air temperature drops. The compressor pushes against lower head pressure. Lower pressure means less electrical work. Less work means fewer watts on your meter. That is the exact same thermodynamic principle a $25,000 geothermal ground loop uses to lower heat rejection temperature. Except instead of trenching your entire yard and burying hundreds of feet of pipe, you run a garden hose. The question is simple. If the science was settled in 1758 and the United States government confirmed it in its own laboratory in 2019, why is this not standard equipment on every residential condenser in America? Follow the money. The United States HVAC market generates an estimated $133 billion in annual revenue as of 2026. That figure is projected to climb past $148 billion by 2030. The corporations behind those numbers are names you already know: Carrier, Trane, Lennox, Daikin, Johnson Controls, Goodman, Rheem. These are not small businesses hoping for a break. These are multinational giants with lobbyists walking the hallways of every state house and every congressional office that writes an energy code. Every residential air conditioner sold in this country is designed around one architecture: an air-cooled condenser that rejects heat into ambient outdoor air. The hotter the air, the harder the compressor strains. The harder it strains, the shorter its lifespan. The shorter its lifespan, the sooner you buy a replacement. So why isn't this standard? It isn't a shadowy conspiracy to break your AC. It is a matter of practicality and liability. Manufacturers don't include misting systems because they require constant water hookups, create immense liability for scaling and corrosion if homeowners neglect them, and can void warranties if water damages the electrical components. Now consider how efficiency is measured. The Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute, known as AHRI, writes the performance rating standards that determine every residential air conditioner's SEER number. That SEER number is the figure printed on the yellow Energy Guide sticker on every unit sold in America. AHRI's member roster is a roll call of the largest cooling manufacturers on Earth: Carrier, Trane, Lennox, Daikin, Johnson Controls, Rheem. These corporations fund the institute. Their engineers fill the committee seats that decide exactly how cooling efficiency is tested and scored. Here is what those committees decided. No SEER rating test is performed with pre-cooled condenser air. The testing protocol measures performance against raw ambient temperature only. A 14 SEER unit with a $40 misting ring that performs like a 21 SEER unit in real-world conditions still carries a 14 on the sticker. The efficiency gain does not appear, not because it does not exist, because the test was written to exclude it. The engineers who designed that test work for the companies that sell you the more expensive unit. That is not speculation. That is the membership list on the Institute's own website. Meanwhile, the technology they never offered you already operates at massive commercial scale. Walk onto the roof of any supermarket in Phoenix or Las Vegas or Houston, you will find evaporative pre-cooled condensing units rejecting heat through water-assisted systems. Data centers use them. Cold storage warehouses rely on them. Industrial refrigeration across the Sun Belt has run water over condenser coils for decades. The technology is not experimental. It is not fringe science. It is deployed right now on buildings you walk into every week. It was simply never handed down to you. Now, if you do not own land, if you are not off-grid, if you are sitting in a suburban house or an apartment right now, stay with me. Because what comes next works in any home, costs under $300, and requires 0 permits in most jurisdictions. This part was built specifically for you. Here's the number I promised at the very beginning of this video. The one number that makes a $40 garden hose fitting competitive with a $25,000 geothermal bore. In 2019, researchers at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee published a comprehensive study on condenser evaporative pre-cooling. The lead researchers, Bo Shen and Munis Ali, conducted this work under funding from the United States Department of Energy Building Technologies Office. Their findings confirmed that evaporative pre-cooling of condenser air delivers significant annual energy savings and peak demand reduction, with the strongest impact in hot, dry climates. A companion field study conducted in Sacramento Municipal Utility District territory measured the real-world effect on actual homes. In hot, arid climates, air conditioning energy use dropped by an average of 8 to 12% over the cooling season, though peak power demand during the absolute hottest hours fell by up to 23 to 29%. Then in 2025, a peer-reviewed study published in Scientific Reports by Nature Publishing Group documented average energy savings of 39.2% using adiabatic pre-cooling on air-cooled condensers, 29 to 39%. That is the number. The United States government paid for the research, published the results in a federal database, and then nothing happened. No manufacturer added a factory misting option, no building code was revised, no yellow sticker was recalculated. The number sat in a government archive while families across this country opened $800 utility bills at kitchen tables every July and set them face down. Now let me show you exactly how to build this yourself. You need 6 items. A brass misting nozzle kit with 6 nozzles and 1/4-inch tubing runs $15 to $20. A 24-volt irrigation solenoid valve, the same kind used in lawn sprinkler systems, costs $12 to $15. 20 feet of 1/4-inch polyethylene misting line is usually included in the kit or costs $5 on its own. A garden hose adapter that steps down from 3/4-inch hose thread to a 1/4-inch compression fitting costs $3 to $5. A 24-volt plug and transformer runs $8 to $10, and a garden hose you already own. Total cost lands between $38 and $50. Route the misting tubing around the top perimeter of your outdoor condenser unit. Clamp it to the fan grill using the hardware from the kit. Space the 6 brass nozzles evenly around the circumference so the mist falls inward across the condenser coils. Point each nozzle inward and slightly downward. You want micro droplets entering the airstream that the fan already pulls through the coils, not a shower, a fog. Connect the tubing to the outlet side of the solenoid valve using the compression fitting. Connect the valve inlet to the garden hose adapter. Run the hose from your nearest outdoor bib to the valve. Now wire the solenoid to activate only when the compressor is running. Both the solenoid and the compressor contactor coil operate on 24 volts. Wire them in parallel inside the HVAC unit's low voltage control panel. Never open or wire anything inside the main high voltage disconnect box, as that carries deadly 240 volt current. When your thermostat calls for cooling, the contactor closes, the compressor starts, and the solenoid opens. Mist flows. When the thermostat satisfies, the contactor opens, the compressor shuts down, and the solenoid closes. Everything stops together. No wasted water, no mist running when cooling is not needed. If you're not comfortable with low-voltage wiring, a plug-in appliance timer set to your peak afternoon hours works as a simple alternative. Open the hose bib and adjust flow until you see fine fog, not a stream, not dripping water. The mist must evaporate completely before it reaches the bottom of the coils. If water pools on the concrete pad, you are running too much. Back it off until the pad stays bone dry. One warning that most people skip: hard water will leave calcium and mineral deposits on aluminum condenser fins over time. This is the one real risk of this system. It is also completely manageable. The best approach is routing your mist supply through a water softener outlet. Softened water leaves virtually no mineral residue. A solid alternative is a $15 inline sediment filter paired with a phosphate cartridge on the supply line. It lasts a full cooling season. At bare minimum, rinse the condenser coils with a garden hose once a month during summer to flush buildup before it hardens. Now consider the math across the full life of your system. A properly installed misting setup reduces compressor power draw by roughly 850 watts during each cooling cycle. That translates to nearly 5 kilowatt hours of savings per day. Over a 150-day cooling season, that totals 720 kilowatt hours saved per year. At 15 cents per kilowatt hour, that is $108 back in your pocket annually. Over a 15-year compressor lifespan, that adds up to more than $1,600 in electricity savings from a $40 investment. And that calculation does not include the extended compressor life from reduced head pressure, which alone could defer a $5,000 to $8,000 unit replacement by several years. $40, one afternoon, $1,600 back over the life of the unit. The physics was demonstrated in 1758. The government confirmed it in 2019. Commercial refrigeration has relied on it for decades. The only people who never knew were the ones paying the bills every month. Don't forget, if you want to take your off-grid electrical game to the next level, my buddy Oliver over at Off Grid Ohms with Oliver has got you covered. Go show him some love.